So this was a method that I found online of how to drain the gas tank without making a huge mess. So of course have the garage door open when you're doing this, but as you can see, not a drop got onto the bike. It all went into this old oil can and down into the bucket. Alright, so this is going to be attempt number 1 at priming the oil system. So I want to see if I have good oil pressure. When you turn the key, the oil light comes on, but as soon as you were to start the motorcycle, it would theoretically turn off once it builds up oil pressure. So what I've done is I put about 4 ounces of oil in the oil filter. I've got 2.5 quarts in the swing arm and 1 full quart in the primary. And I went ahead and actually drained all the gasoline out of the frame / gas tank. And I also disconnected the fuel pump connector because we don't want gas spraying in while we're testing the oil system. So without further ado, one of the things I read on the forum was to pull the plugs, so both spark plugs are out, fuel pump is disconnected, and to help burp the system, so to speak, we want to actually remove our dipstick. And this should remove any air that's in the oil system, hopefully. And I was reading that after approximately 1 minute of cranking, the light should go off. So let's give it a shot. Still on, but I want to check the oil level. And we are dead center right in the middle, so we've got the right amount of oil in here. So I'm going to go ahead and try doing it with the dipstick in now. Oil light is still on. I wonder if we'll have any different effect with the spark plugs in. So once it actually starts, the light goes off. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Alright, so after cranking it a few more times, the oil light actually went off. So you'll notice down here the oil light used to be on. Now if I turn the ignition on, the check engine light comes on, and I think that's because I still have the fuel pump disconnected. I'm not going to reconnect it now because I don't have the spark plugs and everything. And you can see it went off, but then it comes back on again. As you can see, we have good good oil pressure now. So that is really good news. The check engine light could be a couple of things. There's also I think it's called the interactive exhaust valve, which is similar to like an X-up system that you'd have on like an R6 or something like that. When I first started turning the ignition on, this little servo motor would rotate and rotate back. I'm not sure if it's malfunctioning because of the position I have it in, so that I've removed the airbox and everything so I could access the spark plugs. So I'm wondering if sometimes these guys can get stuck and that can throw a code, or it could be because I still have the fuel pump connector unplugged, as you can see down there. So it could be a couple of those things, but my main concern was getting this oil pressure light gone, and it is now gone. So that means tomorrow we should be good to fire this thing up. And I'll probably put the bike on a trickle charger just because of all the times I was cranking it tonight, but great news. Alright guys, so today is the big day. I put everything back together. I got brand new spark plugs in. I actually broke one of the spark plugs yesterday when I was trying to take it out. Didn't say that in the previous clip, but it did happen. So I ordered 2 brand new spark plugs last night, installed them this morning. As you know, we got the oil pressure ready to go. The oil pressure light went off. We still have a check engine light that's being thrown. There's a little diagnostic plug inside here that we can use a little jumper cable and find out exactly what check engine light code is being thrown. Now, with that being said, I think it's the interactive exhaust valve that goes bad all the time on these bikes and on regular inline 4 bikes too, like the XF systems on the R6, for example. I created a little module on an R6 I had to bypass that, and apparently you can use ECM SPI on the Buells to do something similar. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But first, we got to get the thing gassed up. Once it's gassed up, I'm actually waiting for my buddy David from Just the Other Dave. He was in the original video, the introduction video. He's on his way here now. We're going to wait for him to actually start this thing up for the first time. I'm really excited. I'm feeling pretty hopeful. I put a decent amount of gas in the thing. The fuel pump has been reconnected. We got most of the fairings back on. We're still missing the windshield. The one that I have is sort of cracked a little bit, so I may or may not replace that or repair and paint it. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited, so hopefully it runs. Alright guys, here we go. First startup. Dave, I prefaced to the viewers that you're going to be here. You were here for the first video where we found water in the engine. And
Dave just rolled in, now the work's done.
Yep. Alright. Do you want to grab that wrench and maybe twist it while I'm giving a little bit?
Alright, where's the idle adjustment?
Right here.
And what I would do is set the idle slightly high so it will stay running and just let it go. Now where is it? And before you...
It's right here.
Can I see? Oh, okay. Is clockwise higher or lower?
We'll find out.
Don't do anything yet. I can't get the socket on.
Right. Try it? Yeah. Alright, so after we ran it a little bit longer, we just kind of let it idle, we adjusted the idle. It sounds so much better. I think oil finally got in all the right places. I had primed the system yesterday, but I don't know. That little noise sounded like it could be the primary change. We're just going to kind of let it run. We put some seafoam in, let it idle, and I think I'm going to take it around the block here pretty soon and see how it runs. So if you watched the last couple of clips, you'll notice that we started the bike for the very first time, and it sounded a little rough for the first start. We tried to prime the oil system the night before, and it just seems like oil didn't get underneath all the lifters and everything, but once oil reached all the right places, the bike sounded great, and we actually took the bike out for about a 50-mile test drive after that last clip you saw, and the bike's running great. So now we get to move on to the more fun stuff, I think, which is the cosmetic, kind of customizing the bike. I've got a lot of parts that I'm going to start putting on the bike that just arrived that I'll be showing you in a little bit. But if you want to hear what it sounds like now after having been broken in a little bit, we've got about 100 miles on the bike since the rebuild. No check engine lights, oil pressure light, anything like that. And here's what it sounds like. Nice and quiet except for the exhaust control. You can see the whole bike's bouncing around. I love it. bike's running amazing. Now I'm really excited to start customizing the bike's look aesthetically. Right now I've got mirrors that just arrived. I've got new grips coming tomorrow. I've got a new triple clamp plate. Well, it's kind of like a sticker that we're going to be installing. I got new front turn signals. I got LED turn signals in the rear. So yeah, let's go ahead and start working on the aesthetics of the bike, and this thing's going to be ready to ride. So here we can see that triple clamp sticker that I was talking about. We're going to be replacing this with a new one from the factory, which I picked up from St. Paul Harley Davidson in Minnesota. And I've got the part right over here. I can show you what the replacement will look like. And you can see what this thing looked like back in 2006. A complete difference. This bike obviously was not cared for very well. It did not stay in a garage, but that is okay because we are bringing this thing back to life. So this is going to be one thing we're installing. I've got a new windscreen coming in that should be here by this upcoming Thursday, and my grips should be here tomorrow. But let's go ahead and see if we can get this guy off of here so we can install our brand new nameplate. Alright, so now we're going to install some little LED blinkers back here in the back. I didn't want to do the huge ones that stick way out like I have in the front. In the front, I think they're okay. Kind of just brings back that old classic firebolt look. In the back, I don't know that it's really necessary. So I just stopped by the local cycle gear and I grabbed a couple of little LED blinkers here. I wanted to go with an integrated tail light, but those things are like, I don't know, close to $100 or something, so I just got these little guys that'll get the job done, and they fit right in Alright guys, so I got a lot of new parts in and we're going to be doing some installs today. Right out of the gate you'll notice I've got this toe strap here hooked on to the headlight assembly, and that is because, as you saw from the crack up here, this thing was definitely involved in some sort of a front impact accident. Doesn't look like it was bad enough to bend the forks or anything like that because they all look straight, but it did crack the headlight assembly. So what I did was I just super glued this, and I've been letting it sit for a few days now, probably about a week. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the toe strap, the tie strap, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be reinstalling the front fairing. I just got a windscreen that came in from Zero Gravity, and I've got stock turn signals that I'm going to be installing on the front, and stock mirrors that are going to be installed on the fairing as well. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. I also changed out the turn signal flasher relay. The stock one looked like it had some corrosion on it, and when you would try to use the turn signals, they wouldn't flash and it would make some weird noise. So I just picked up an EP36 from Advanced Auto Parts, and it works great, and it's compatible with LEDs as well. So I'm going to be running LED flashers in the back, and I've got the stock bulbs up front. I don't know if I'm going to like that combination. I may go back to stock flashers in the back as well. We'll see. But I kind of like the minimalist look that we got from those small LED turn signals in the back. So let's go ahead and get this strap off here and start installing things. guys, so for this next part, we're going to take our windscreen, remove it from the plastic wrap, and you will notice, so we got the zero gravity, this is a double bubble windscreen, and the way these things attach is you have these guys which are called well nuts. I think they're also called expansion nuts. But basically they just drop in like so, and when you put the screw in and start to tighten it down, it begins to pull the threaded insert inside this rubber housing towards the back of the windscreen. So you don't need a nut on the back because this serves as sort of, I think they're also called expansion nuts. So I would recommend getting these. I picked these up from Ace Hardware. They were 85 cents a piece. And I went to a local motorcycle shop and they wanted $6 a piece for each one of these things. 36 bucks for a set. That's half the cost of this windshield. So it made a lot more sense to get them 85 cents a piece from Ace Hardware. I think they have them from Lowe's and Home Depot as well. But save yourself the hassle. You don't have to order them online. I know they're cheap online too. You can get them at your local hardware store. So we're going to go ahead and install the windscreen and see how a double bubble looks on a Firebolt. Alright guys, so you can see when you tighten down those well nuts, it kind of compresses right up against the windscreen, and now it's all hooked up and secure. So I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. My review of this zero gravity double bubble would be, I wish this was more of a flush fit with the fairing. You can see there's a little bit of a step here, and the stock fairing looked almost like the stock windscreen looked like it would transition a little bit smoother, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. We're going to get the sticker pulled off, but you can see we've got the mirrors on, we've got the turn signals, and this is the look in the back with the small LED turn signals. So I could do an integrated tail light or integrated turn signals into the tail light, or I could go back and get the stock turn signals just like we have up here in the front. But at this point I kind of like the minimalist look in the rear, but overall this thing is just about done. There's a few little minor things we can still do. The seats got a few tears in them, little rips here and there. They could be reconditioned. I've got a seat guy down in Melbourne, Florida that does a great job. I may end up having him redo these seats. But also, we are going to remove the grips, and I got a brand new set of grips with different bar ends, and we're going to go ahead and remove the bar end mirror from this side here. So we may have to disassemble this in order to get this bar end out. I'm not quite sure, but aside from that, I think I may end up doing some levers and then calling this project done. There are some scuffs and scratches on the body, but at this point, being that we had to do a lot more work on the bike than we originally thought, I think I may just call it good and keep it and ride it. So I'm really happy with the way it came out. It looks great, and let's keep marching forward. guys, so for the most part, that really wraps up the build of the Buell XB12R. This has been an awesome project. This was a great example of a first motorcycle to start the series off with, because this is pretty much the worst case scenario of what can happen when you buy bikes on Craigslist, especially ones that are labeled as a project. Now, I knew what I was getting into. I knew that this thing probably wasn't going to run right out of the gate. We didn't expect to find water in the engine, but it wasn't enough to deter us from wanting to take on this project. And we learned a lot, especially about Harley engines, and just rebuilding this thing in general was a blast. There are a few more things we could do to cosmetically clean this thing up, but for the amount of money invested in it just to get it to where it is now, we're pretty much at a break-even point. So we could sell this and get back all the money we put in for this project. So it's not like it was a total loss when we found out there was a lot more work that needed to be done. It just meant that we were going to be spending a lot more time in the garage than we originally planned. Now, I enjoy that, so that wasn't a big drawback for me. Am I going to sell this bike? Maybe, but I think for the amount of time we put into fixing it, I'd like to ride it for a little while. So I'm going to keep it around. I've got it registered. As you can see, I've got a tag there on the back. And I'm actually going to be taking it out riding today, but hopefully we can do a little bit of cinematic from start to finish of what this whole project was. And I'm hoping to get some feedback from you guys as to what the next project should be. Should we go with a cafe racer? Should we go with an inline 4? What kind of Jap bikes do you want to see? I've already found a few other bikes I'm interested in right now, so we'll see if I pick up something here soon. But for now, I'm going to enjoy this Buell. I'm going to take it out for a ride. And thanks for checking out the channel and watching this first series on a 2006 Buell XB12R Firebolt.